What's going on, tribe? It's your girl Quinita Charnel, and I'm showing you part 2 of the construction of the Yvonne Kinky Curly Wig. So right now, as you just saw, we need a couple things. You need your needles, you need some scissors, T-pins, and obviously the hair. Lastly, you're going to need a mesh dome cap or wig cap. I chose this one. I had it laying around in my house, no big deal. And put it on your mannequin head however is comfortable for you. I like having the lines of the mannequin head going the opposite way while having the wider side of the wig cap forward and the more narrow side in the back, that comes to that little peak. That's the back of the wig. Next, you're going to need your needle. The best thing that I can tell you, because there's no right or wrong answer, you need to put as much thread on the needle as you're comfortable with. I like long thread when I make my wigs, just so I don't have to switch up my threading as often, but do whatever feels comfortable for you. When you're doing your wig, you kind of want to make sure your hair is not tangled. So what I'm showing you here is me pulling the hair apart, making sure that it's not bunching up, and I'm putting it on the mannequin head and tacking it down so that way you all can see it. And excuse me looking real rough, y'all. I'm in my house making wigs, so what I don't need is your judgment, okay? But you want to put it on the wig cap kind of where your earmarks are. That's kind of how I decided where I wanted to start sewing and tack down my wig personally. Now you guys won't be able to see, and I apologize I didn't show it. I did mark my ear placement on my wig with the black permanent marker. I know it's very difficult to see. However, that is where I positioned the first track. It's right behind those ear marks that I put on my wig. And once you have your wig situated, not your wig, y'all, I'm sorry. Once you have your bundle situated as to where your ear tabs kind of fall or where they're positioned on your wig, you want to tack the end of that bundle down securely, because that is the starting mark of where all the magic is going to begin. Now, personally, for me, I leave room on the band before I start sewing. Some people sew on the very bottom of the band. Some people sew above the band. I personally sew above the band and not through it. And the reason why is so if I want to put this hair up or want to leave some of my hair out, I can do that, and it keeps the hair from tangling. That's one complaint that a lot of ladies say, is that their wigs tangle in that nape area. So I figure, why not leave some room on that band so one, it doesn't tangle. If I want to wear a headband, I have room. You just gotta, this is just my way of kind of making it better longevity wise, so that way I'm not going through my wig. Also, another tip, ladies, before you start sewing down that bundle, tack it down with those T-pins so that it doesn't move. Another complaint I get is that, your wigs come out too tight, or, you're not sewing on a straight line, or, the pattern that you want to follow. You can either tack down the wig, I keep saying the wig, you can either tack down the bundle as you're sewing it down, or what you can do is like some ladies do when they sew it down on a sewing machine, and mark it with a white marker so you know where you're sewing your wig. Know where you're sewing your bundles, y'all. I'm sorry, I keep saying wig. You know where you're sewing your bundles. So that way you can follow along with the lines that you've already pre-made. I know that was a mouthful, so I'm just going to let you guys kind of watch how I do this, and then I'll be back shortly to kind of explain some more stuff. One other thing that I wanted to point out is all I'm doing with my needle stitch is going around the bundle and making a loop, and then pulling my needle through that loop. And then when I go to make my next stitch, I'm kind of holding it so that way it kind of stays in place taut. And then I'm doing the same thing, and I'm doing the same thing until I get to the end of the bundle. That's it. So in case anybody was wondering and they couldn't really see, because like I said, this is kind of my first time doing it, recording it this way, so it looks a little awkward. I was trying to do it in a way that you all could see. So I hope that makes sense. But if you have questions about the stitch, just let me know. All right, as you all have watched, I am slowly approaching the end of my bundle if I have not already come to the end of it. So what I'm doing here is stitching around that last part before I decide to flip it about 4 times. The reason I do that, I want to make sure that the bundle is taut and doesn't move as I'm flipping it over, as you all just saw. So then what do? I grab my T-pin, I put that down in there so that that bundle does not move, okay? I want to make sure it doesn't move. And then what I do is I sew through that little part that's folded over so that that part of the bundle can be flat as possible. We do not want any lumps and bumps. And I know that we're using curly hair, and that's fine. However, we still want this to be as flat and as seamless as possible. So like I said, you're still on this part of the elastic band, which we are not sewing through, because if you sew through that elastic band, the wig is going to be too tight on your head. I'm just going in lightly in through the fabric that's over the elastic band and doing that 3 or 4 times so that that corner does not move. And then you do the rest of the bundle like I just showed you. Now, for those who don't want to sew through the bundle itself, you do not have to. If you prefer to sew around it, you can do that as well. Just make sure that it's secure and doesn't move. And continue doing the rest of the bundle like I did the first time. Here I'm showing you how I actually tack my bundle down. So if you run out of T-pins, girl, use them push pins or whatever you have in your house to tack them down. And I'm sewing this pretty close together because like you all saw, I have 4 bundles and I intend to get every inch of those 4 bundles on this wig. So just wanted to show you this quick little tidbit and keep going. For my first time wig makers, as you saw, I was taking out my T-pins as I was approaching them. That is another good way to ensure that you're going in a straight line, because whether you drew on your lines or you're just using your T-pins and you're positioning it yourself, that is an easy way to know that you're still staying the course of where you want to sew your bundle and it's not getting too tight or lopsided or whatever. It helps. So use that tidbit, y'all. We out here trying to make good wigs. Okay. Also be careful when you start approaching this thick line or the thick threads of your wig cap. You don't want to sew through those so tightly, because that is another way that your wig can end up being too tight on your head. So what I did was just I sewed through a couple or a few of those threads. That way when I pulled it tight, you see how there's a little tension? It doesn't tighten my wig so tight that it doesn't fit on my head. So that's just another thing I wanted to mention as you're doing this, so you don't set yourself up for failure with the wig that's too tight. right, y'all, this is one whole bundle. Now, if you remember, your girl bought 4. There is no guarantees that I'm going to be able to put this whole thing, all 4 of these bundles in here, because as you can see, these are pretty close together. Very close together. Well, I'm trying to show y'all. See how close these are? Maybe it's barely a finger's length apart. All right, ladies, so this is what we're looking like. I'm moving the second bundle out of the way, but this, where the arrow is pointing, is what the 18-inch bundle looks like. I can't even say for myself how proud I am, because this used to drive me crazy, and now I'm getting it. What you do on one side, you do to the other, and you just keep following this kind of like horseshoe pattern. And this is what the spacing on the wig cap should look like with the first bundle on it. Very full, it looks good, everything is even, you got the right spacing, and what I'm pulling at is a 20-inch bundle. So let's get into how that should look once you finish it right now. Now, like I said, this is the 20-inch bundle, and it's okay that your bundles are off center from your wig. That is a mistake I definitely want to show you all, so that you wouldn't think that you have to start over. It doesn't matter. Your bundles are what's important. They're even. And what I'm pointing at here is what you do on one side, always do it to the other side. And to finish off this bundle, we're going to lay our last 20-inch across the middle of that band, and then keep sewing back until those bundles kiss. But you see that kind of horseshoe shape, you see that kind of closure shape. And like I said, even though it's not centered on the wig cap properly, your bundles are still even. And that's the important part. So I'm just showing you exactly how this is supposed to look. There's still fingers width apart between each track. So that way it's even, there's no gaps. It don't, I'm real funny about that. I don't like gappy wigs. I don't like none of that. Make sure you stay consistent. This is the whole purpose of this wig, is consistency. You're allowed to make mistakes, because y'all see that I did, but stay consistent with where you're placing your tracks. So that way everything is even going forward. So keep watching, we're almost done. Like I said, I wanted to make it clear, the third bundle is a 20-inch, and all I did was go straight back, fold my tracks, go straight back, fold my track, straight back, fold my tracks, and you're going to do that until those bundles kiss, and get them as close together as you possibly can. This is what it should look like as you're going back and going back and going back. You fold it over, just like I said. It's not hard stuff. It's very easy, very consistent. And this is what it should look like when it's done. And you see that it's not perfect, but they're kissing, they're touching. That's what you want. This is what the wig looks like once you completely finished. Boom, look at that, luscious. Oh, come on, curls popping, the whole 9. So I hope this video really helped you all, and I'm so glad that you were so patient with me to get this out here. I cannot wait to show you how I style this. I'm going to give you an update video of how the hair is doing, color, all of that. So stay tuned, and thank you guys so much for watching. Love you all. Bye.